Go.
Hello, everybody. This is a beautiful day. I'm so glad that you took the time to join us again. Voter Education 365. We're so excited. We actually received notification that we are now a 501c3 incorporated company here in New York, enabling us to do charitable events all around the country. So we're grateful for that. But let me tell you what we're even more grateful about. We're grateful for the friends that we have. We have so many people that love us and that we love, and they're knowledgeable, they're insightful, they're fun, they're funny, but most important, we are loyal friends. And loyal friends will do anything for another. Educating people how to vote is what we're here to talk about tonight. The importance of voting. So I would be remiss if I didn't bring on the most amazing couple. When they have the picture of a power couple, in Webster, they should have these two. So we're going to bring a slide up right now to just give you a little taste of who it is that we who it is that we are bringing forward. Now, when we look at this slide, now technical difficulties happen on a regular basis, and that's truly not them. This is just some of the stuff that we're going to talk about later. Here they are. Here they are. The Honorable Derek Robinson and the fabulous Dr. Pam Allen. Let's bring them on camera because there's not even anything else we need to say but to see this lovely couple here and then to hear the insight that we're going to impart to you guys in a few moments. So we're going to say, introduce yourselves. I'm not even going to say anything else other than the accolades that I have already bestowed upon you. I'm going to say unmute yourselves and come on board. Talk to people. You're unmuted now.
Yes.
Let's
Hi.
Go ahead. Introduce yourselves.
Hello, Deborah. Hello to your audience.
Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to be here and share with us and each other on this occasion. We're looking forward to it.
On this very, very important topic that certainly deserves our attention.
Sometimes people tape their shows and then show them later. So if this is viewed at another time, I think this would probably be the best time for you both to say the importance of this this is the newest national holiday that the United States has voted on in both houses. And so we are so happy to be able to speak about the extol the virtues of voting on this most auspicious day, the commemoration and the celebration of Juneteenth, which was June 19th, 1865, that is now being honored since today is Monday, and it's a national holiday. So we know that you both have been instrumental in educating the communities on so many things. Just speak to us a little bit about Juneteenth before we talk about voting.
Okay. Well, you know what? It's kind of hard to talk about Juneteenth without talking about voting because it all goes back to who we put in office in order to get recognition and then acceptance of these kinds of holidays. This is the first new holiday we've had since the MLK holiday. So, yeah, and it's only because we put our power together in our vote and put people in office who support what we really know we deserve. Now, you look at Juneteenth, and it's a national holiday. That is major. And that's so exciting. And it's because we vote that we're able to have that. People talk about Juneteenth and, the Emancipation Proclamation. Well, 2 years, 5 months, and 18 days, that's a long time after the Emancipation Proclamation, the people in Texas were finally notified that they were free. Not that the people in Texas, the enslavers, did not know, because they did know. There is evidence that there were over 278 newspaper articles in Galveston telling the people in Texas that the Emancipation Proclamation had passed. But what you have to understand is And there were a few things going on, and I won't go into all of it,
Mhm.
but there were reasons that the Texans did not accept the free emancipation of the enslaved people. However, when the general came to Galveston, he had 750 white soldiers. He also had 19,000 black soldiers. When those 19,000 armed black soldiers walked the streets of Galveston, Texas, and told the enslavers and the enslaved that they were free, the people in Texas thought that they were being invaded by a black army. They were sending out telegraphs calling for Confederate support because they were under attack. They didn't know. I mean, come on, of course, there's no mass communication then. So, what's important today is that we recognize that all people were not free. Not that the Emancipation Proclamation automatically made everybody free. We understand that. Um, a law doesn't, just like desegregation of schools, it doesn't mean the next day it happens. But 2 years, 5 months, and 18 days, nothing takes that long. And
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because I was listening and reading some chats, and people were like, so it was only 2 months. It was
No.
only 2 months. And I had, you could only share but so much information to so many people. So by us continuing to say 2 years,
5 months and 18 days.
Yeah, not 2 months, 2 years. Because we find that whenever something is displeasing to hear, it's downsized and compartmentalized to fit into what is acceptable for people to digest.
Yes. And one of the things we talked about today is history, real history, which is what we stress in our education program. Real history does not have to make you happy or comfortable. It doesn't have to be pleasing to you. It only has to be the truth, the real truth. And that's real history. So whether you like it or not, we don't have to make it palatable for anyone because it is the truth. It is real.
Can I add something
Yes,
here?
Please, I was just going to say that we have from the legal side. I wanted to hear it from the legal side to see and hear, not that you have to speak from, this is from this law, but to understand what the people that were making sure that they were over all the justice and how they knew, and those that had to keep it quiet. Go ahead. It's all yours.
Well, I tell you, in part of keeping it real and telling people what the truth is that it's important to understand the importance of voting and how that has an impact on not just when you vote for a president, but also when you have local elections that take place and you are electing somebody for the local school board or electing somebody to a local town position. Those are individuals that can have a major impact on your day-to-day living, sometimes much more intimately than, let's say, a federal elected official. They are not as close because all politics are really local. So if you needed to have a repair made, what happened? If you needed to have a repair made, just go to this.
You're still there. We see you. We see you and hear you.
Okay. We know that there are people that you can call to address that because we've elected people. They are in office. They have to respond to the people that put them in office. Now, if we complain about things that need to change or things that need to improve, we need to exercise our powers of voting and getting people in office and letting people know that they've got to respond to us because we are the ones that put them in office, and they really are to work for us. They're to be the voice for the voiceless and have a conscience about the decisions that they make that would be for the betterment of the community in many ways, but it's not going to happen if we don't vote.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk all the grand plans, but if there is no action, if we don't go out and vote and take somebody with you, even if it's a local non-presidential election, voting is important. We have a primary coming up, and the decision is going to be made as to who's going to be the Democratic representative for governor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to get out there and vote. I'm not going to make a decision or and try to influence you, but it is important that you need to exercise your powers. We have a lot of power that we sit on when
Mm-hmm.
we don't use it. When we can organize and vote in a common way for our common interest, that's a powerful tool that we can use. And I just want us to don't waste it. Don't waste it. Now, we're going to do everything we can legally to make sure that everybody that's entitled to vote has that right to vote.
Mhm.
I mean, because it's important that we call it enfranchising people. If you keep somebody from voting, you're disenfranchising them and keeping them from their constitutional rights. But when you are actively involved in the election and they're going to do everything that's possible to make sure that people are allowed to vote. You do have to help yourself with the proper identification. That's a hot topic now. The the allegations, the unfounded allegations that there was fraud in the election,
Mhm.
but nevertheless, there's going to be increased scrutiny on the legitimacy of those people that vote. So you do want to have
Mm-hmm.
your ID ready, driver's license, a school ID, um, some kind of ID that has your photo on it, because it's your right to do that. And when you exercise your right to vote, you're not just exercising your right, but also you are exercising as a model for the children that are watching you to see what you do, why you are voting, taking them with you when you go to vote so that they see that process and all the people that come out so that they can get some excitement about this is some kind of special day here. Who are you voting for? And so importantly, it's that you can help the community, you can help not only yourself and your family, and ourselves in all the things and areas that need to be addressed:
That's true.
healthcare, education, education, and so all those things can be addressed by people that are committed, and that commitment starts with exercising your right to vote.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're talking about, and this is why these conversations are so very important. Now, we're trying to blend the conversation and the discussion with some kind of technology. So I am going to pull because 90% of the points that you both have brought up, we have put in a slide so that we can then speak about local politics, speak
Mm-hmm.
about the current in this moment. Just 3 hours and 13 minutes, 2 hours and 13 minutes ago, yes, they have closed the polls for today, but early voting has started.
Mm-hmm.
June 28th is primary day, but New York State saw it not robbery to vote to make sure that you had 9 days of early voting. And those 9 days of early voting, as I'm looking to pull a slide over, I'm going to move the slide. And oftentimes things are easier said than done. Okay.
We, in this early voting, I've been talking to people who are voting. We're not having a good representation. So we need to get the word out to let people know that if you're not being represented, that means your voice is not being heard. So people have to get out there to make sure that they're heard. Your grandmother used to say, I brought you in this world, I'll take you out. We need to say that to politicians. I put you in this office and I'll take you out. But if you don't vote, you didn't put anybody anywhere. And you have no power. I think we lost Deborah.
Probably not.
You can eat
No,
your
you never will lose Deborah. Deborah is just getting this slide together. And I wanted, you guys are so on point, and I have Dominique coming over to help me. So I didn't want you to see her roll over here. So I put myself up on screen. And when we're looking at and thinking about early voting, Dr. Allen, you hit the nail right on the head. The percentages are so low for the last few days for communities of color in particular. It's across the board, it's for everyone, but particularly in communities of color. New York State legislation, the legislators decided that they were going to allow there to be more days of early voting. And not only more days, but more locations. We went from 13 locations to 26 locations. Let's go to that screen.
See, that's the opposite of what they're doing in most places in this country.
So we're going to slide 3, Smiley. So what we were doing and what we were trying to keep going. Let's stop there for right now. Voter Education 365 is an amazing opportunity for us to then share with you the mission statement, because this mission statement was birthed during the pandemic to do just what we're talking about here today. We will strive to provide voters with the tools to overcome all barriers and hurdles that have historically prohibited them to be comprehensive voters and to participate in a comprehensive way. We will work to eliminate fragmented disinformation related to voting policies, practices, and procedures. We will empower individuals with the knowledge and capability to combat voter suppression. We will fervently publicize the fact that all politics are local. All politics are local. We will spearhead efforts to educate the masses in order to help them develop a clear understanding that every aspect of their lives, every aspect of your life is impacted by voting. We will encourage active participation by all in all local, regional, and national elections, which the Honorable Judge spoke about a moment ago as well. We will cultivate ambassadors of voting. Now that's the piece, and all of you in the viewing audience and those who will view, we want to cultivate ambassadors of voting, charged with mobilizing your own individual communities to engage in all political processes and to be motivated. Motivation is key. You can't go out and say, hey, I think you need to vote. We need to be motivated when we're talking about voting. We need to encourage people and engage them in all political processes and their neighbors to pay it forward and to inspire others to do the same. Now, we had some stats. Let's go to the next slide, Dom, and the next. So we want to make sure that you understand that in Suffolk County, there are so very many opportunities for us to vote. And so many reasons why we see that there are so few people that are voting. We put together a little slide. We were trying to be cute and do comics and commercials, but I think that we're just going to move down to the early voting slide and give you just the little subtle nuances. It's your money. Now, this is something else that I'll say. I'll call you both Doctors Robinson together there. It's your money. You pay taxes, but you know how the money is being used. Mm-hmm. That's all a part of voting. Most people don't. Voting is your chance to choose how your tax dollars are spent. Funding for healthcare, social services. Elections have consequences. You have the power to decide the quality of life that you want for yourself and for future generations. Another point my esteemed couple brought to the forefront. Voting is your chance to stand up for the issues you care about, like public transportation. How many of you out there take public transportation and you find yourself complaining that it doesn't include your route or the hours are not convenient and conducive to your work schedule?
Mhm.
By you voting and by you understanding the process, you will then know who you should go to discuss this. To show up to town meetings, ask for town halls, have your political elected officials in front of you and discuss with them what's important to you. The only way they'll know is if you discuss it with them. Voting is your way to help funding local schools, raising the minimum wage. Yes, it's now at $15. How many years did it take for legislation? When this was proposed, it was at least 7 years ago that $15 was proposed. Can you imagine if there were enough people that voted and were able to talk to their local politicians that you may be up to $27 at this point? Who knows what would happen?
Mhm.
This is your life. Take the time to decide what's best for your life.
Mhm.
Don't listen to just someone else who may have had a negative experience and they're only speaking to you from that negative standpoint. Give yourself a chance. Elections are decided by the people who go out and vote. Take some time and learn about the measures and the candidates. When people come to the voting location, they oftentimes ask inspectors who they should vote for. We can't tell you who to vote for. We can't tell you anything but do your due diligence before you get there. Check and see who's running. A lot of people say, oh, well, I don't know who these judges are. I bet you some members of your family know who some of those judges are. If they had to go and be judged in front of them, no pun in using the word judge. If some of your members have had to go, whether it's traffic court, a misdemeanor, felony, civil court, there are different judges for different things. You may have found that you have an opportunity to understand how they are then making their decision. If you don't, someone else will make the decision for you. Your power is in your vote.
Mhm.
Do you want to make a positive impact? Voting gives you that chance. Support the candidates and ballot measures that can help your community, your state, and even the nation for a greater good.
Mhm.
Make your voice heard. Your community is made up of your friends, your loved ones, your neighbors, children, and grandchildren. Some may not know how important voting is. There's some things you keep to yourself. The importance of voting is not one of them. Make sure you share how important it is. While others don't have that privilege.
Mhm.
And in a moment, we're going to talk about how the privilege has been restored to many, many, many tens of thousands of people on Long Island that don't know that you can register to vote right now. We're talking to you. If in the past you may have paid your debts to society and you think that you have not regained your ability to vote, that's incorrect. Now you can vote. All of you can register if you have the right information, which is another point that was brought up by my esteemed guests. Make sure when you're registering, we're going to go to another slide. I'm going to have this slide here, which is next. This is how, in this pandemic, you can go to the DMV online and you can register to vote if you have your license or
Mhm.
your if you have your license or if you have your I'm going to go back to the first one. Register to vote by the DMV. This is what the page will look like. And then you'll click on DMV electronic voter registration. And it's an application. I know a lot of you guys do not want to use, oh, that paper is so old. I don't know where it is. Well, guess what? This is for you. Once you click on the site, you'll see it'll come up and it'll look like this. You click on the blue box. We've put the arrow there for you. And it says register to vote or update your voter registration information. Now, what does that mean? We've had a lot of people that come to the polls and they say, I moved, but I still live in this hamlet. Well, if you've moved, then you've moved. That may mean that you are now voting in a different election district. So if you've moved, please verify your registration and change it. It's okay to change your registration. You might get mail. Then this is the next page. DMV, your path to personalized online services. You fill out this information, and voila, you then are a registered voter. That information is then sent over to the Board of Elections because of the collaborative agreement, because they're both state entities that they can share that information. Now, absentee voting. As of January 1st of this year, because we don't want anyone to then, oh my gosh, we don't want anyone to think that what was in place last year is still in place now. As of January 1st of this year, just a few short months ago, New York State absentee ballot procedure states basically, now this is a whole lot of jargon, but basically, if you request an absentee ballot, you cannot vote on a machine. So I could read this whole thing, but bottom line, if you request it, so think long and hard before you request an absentee ballot. 9 days of early voting gives you the opportunity to vote in person in advance of Election Day. You guys are not taking advantage of it. Just like with most other things, if you don't use it, you might lose it. So we want to encourage you to go to the 26 locations that we are going to show you. We have links for you. We have so much for you, but we're going to start in Suffolk County. In Suffolk County, there are now 26 locations that include every town. The town of Babylon, Wheatley Heights Ambulance Corps on 295 Merritt Avenue, the ACE Center in Amityville, the town of Babylon Hall Annex. Those are 3 sites that you can use in the town of Babylon. You then can go to the town of Brookhaven, and you see Rose Caracappa in Mount Sinai, Bellport, Blue Point. We then have Farmingville and the Mastic Recreation Center, Manorville, and Shoreham, Wading River. Then you go out a little further east, and then you have East Hampton. You then have your Riverhead, as well as your Southampton and Mattituck and Riverhead locations. Huntington, you have Greenlawn, the Huntington Library, and the Dix Hills Fire Department. In the town of Islip, you have 5 locations. You have the Bohemia Recreation Center in Bohemia, West Islip Senior Center, Greenbelt Recreation Center out in Holtsville, the Knights of Columbus right in Brentwood, the Islip Town Hall Annex right there in Islip. 5 locations for you. This is important information. Now you see those hours? The hours have been elongated from last year. Last year, the hours were far fewer. You have 2 weekends. If you work in the city, there are voting hours until 8 p.m. If you work on Long Island and you have to be at work at 9 o'clock in the morning, we have hours as early as 7 a.m. Make sure you go to you can go to Suffolk County Board of Elections, or you can take a picture of this screen while it's sitting up there right now. The other thing that we want to say is we also give this information in Spanish. So if anyone needs it in Spanish, we have that. And we, even on all of the literature, a new law voter, a voter who is issued an absentee ballot may not cast a vote on the machine. Here it is in Spanish. We have Nassau County locations. Now, let me say this. In Suffolk County, let me go back again here for a second. In Suffolk County, another perk, let's say your significant other decided that they're going to take you out and you're going to go to the movies in Southold because you're just going to take a nice drive. and you happen to live in the western part of our wonderful, wonderful county. The glory of Suffolk County is you can vote at any of these locations wherever you are in Suffolk County, only during early voting. So if you're going to the Hamptons, you can vote. If you're going to Riverhead, you can vote. If you're at the Babylon Town Hall Annex and you're a Suffolk County resident, you can vote in any of these sites. That is only specific to us here in Suffolk County. Nassau County, you see their hours are different than ours. Everyone has the same number of days, but their hours are different. Their locations are different. Okay? Every single bit of information that you need is located on a website that's close to you, because you know that your fingers do the walking. It's a snap. Remember that commercial? So we want to make sure that as we look at those of you who are in the 5 boroughs, the 5 boroughs is different. You can't vote in any location in the 5 boroughs. You can't do that. So as you are looking to vote in New York, every county, what is it, 62 counties? Every county has different rules. The only thing consistent is election day and that there are 9 days of early voting. I know that this is a lot of information, but that's another piece. We're going to turn the screen off. We're going to stop sharing for right now. But we have a lot of stats, but we don't want to talk about that. We want to make sure that we go back to the importance of voting generationally. Why it's important for us to then convince our friends and family. I see that we have Vanessa Fields on sending us a message through Facebook. We want the Fields family to be able to share with all the generations the importance of voting. The Robinson family, the Payton family. We want all of our families to do that. So give us some more information. What else would you like to say? I know that we've been giving a lot of information to the individuals here, but I think just like in marketing, they said, and this was 30 years ago, so it might be 10 times now, but you have to say something 7 times before a person really grasps what it is you're trying to say. So that was when I was in college. So maybe it's 14 times now. So what else would you like to share? You guys are muted.
You're right. Sorry about that. We have children in the pool in the back, and they're noisy. Deborah, you and I are educators, so we look at things, from an educator's point of view. Everything is a teachable moment. We grasp those things, and working with children, we want them to vote. We want them, so they have to see us vote, because they're going to make decisions about us when we are older, and they're controlling the world. So if we don't do it, the world of do as I say, not as I do, forget it. It does not exist. That was our great grandmothers and our great grandfathers. Those days are gone. We have to live by example. And the example that we have to live by is to vote and then hold your representatives accountable. So, one of the things that we do in our academic program is we teach our children what all of their local and state politicians do, who they are, what they are responsible for, what they're required to do, and then we talk about what they actually do. And many of the politicians come through our doors, and our children can tell them their bio, their voting history, because our children are aware of that and they take it home to their parents. And that's very important. Mm-hmm. We have to live by example. We have to show them not only that they have to vote, but that they have to take my great grandmother's, I brought you in and I'll take you out. We've got to let our politicians know that I voted you in and I will vote you out. Children, I don't care how young they are, they need to know, because what you said, every day we are affected by what we do in the polls. There is no unimportant election. If you don't vote in your school, you know how many times we haven't had representation on school boards because of 5 to 7 votes.
Absolutely.
Don't say your vote doesn't count. Every vote counts. And it's the one thing we all have equally, one vote. We have to use it.
I'm glad you said that because we had another slide that spoke about the opportunity for 16, as young as 16 years old, you can then register to vote, and it will take effect as of your 18th birthday.
Oh, okay.
So if we go into 10th grade classes or ninth grade classes, wherever you are 16 years old, and get the students to then have, because they're having these discussions, and because they're having these discussions, they're more knowledgeable than we would give them credit for.
Mm-hmm.
We have several young people that want to work the elections. And at 17, you can actually go in and you can actually work with the elections and be able to understand the process. So we want the viewing audience to be able to know that if indeed they are 16, they can go online or do it by old school paper, and they can register to vote, and that information will be input in the Board of Elections system, and it will trigger itself upon the 18th birthday of that registrant. So yes, we're teaching them, we're educating them, and we need to get as many of them registered as possible as soon as they're eligible, before they're swayed to do anything else.
Mm-hmm. And even with the younger children, what we do, because you said, "Oh, I can't tell you who to vote for." We do. We we look at all of our politicians. We have a list, a chart, and we talk about what is important to us. And what's important to children may not be in the forefront of what we're looking at, but we need to be aware of that because it's important. It's valuable. If they see it as important, then we need to see it as important also. So we chart where each politician stands on the issues that we're concerned with. And then we come out at the end with the candidates that we believe will best represent our interest. And then our children take it home to their parents and they say, "This is who I think you should vote for." And you know what? People appreciate that because sometimes parents go in and they're like, "I don't know who to vote for." But we have no qualms about telling them, this is who you think, take this home to all your relatives and tell them to vote your interest. And
listen to what you said. Listen to what you said. What was great about that is that the children make the decision. So even in that case, you're not telling them what to do.
No.
You're not telling them who and how to vote. You're giving them the tools to educate themselves and make an intelligent decision. What did Cy Sims say? An educated consumer is our best customer. So an educated voter is our best tool to be in the community.
And sometimes that's children. Because we look at what they are doing. We look at we even look at how they voted. If they're coming again, we say, well, if that's important to you, has this person done anything? Do they have a record in that area? And we talk about it. We spend a certain amount of time every day, like 15 minutes, every day discussing those issues. So our children, sure, they're 5, 6, 7, 8 through 20, but they're aware of what's going on. And again, what we talk about, the truth, history has to be what is true. Well, we look at our politicians to not only say what they want to do, but we want to look at their record on what they have done. And we make decisions based on that. And everybody doesn't agree. We have some people who say, well, I like this candidate because of these issues. And someone will like another candidate for other issues, but they make their own chart. They make their own decision and they take it home and they tell their family, you need to vote for these people.
The Honorable Judge Robinson, I am glad I said this will be the perfect time for me to put my disclaimer to say, again, we are a newly formed 501c3 not-for-profit charitable organization that does not tell people what and how to vote. So I just have to put my disclaimer out there as well, just to make sure that we are all walking, we're all in the same book, we're all in the same chapter, but we're all on the same page. So, Judge Robinson?
I'm so glad to hear that you are following the requirements of the New York State not-for-profit law. But you know what? The thing is, it's important for our people that have common community interests need to be able to band together and vote their interests in order to make a success. There are things that go on in certain communities that are really not publicly known, but members of the community know that it's an issue, and sometimes they will organize around that common issue. It might be overdevelopment or underdevelopment of a particular parcel of land, and so joining together with in common interests can pay results, and that is borne out oftentimes at the ballot box when people vote, because it's and our voting, as you said earlier, Deborah, has an impact on every aspect of our lives. It has an impact. Our voting has an impact on social services, health, health care. It has an impact on education. It has an impact on everyday things like highway repair and highway maintenance. So when you are involved and active, you can make that phone call and say, look, the sign is down at the end of the street and it needs to be repaired.
Yes.
It doesn't have to remain like that, but you have to be an engaged individual and have a common interest where you also care about your neighbor. You also care about your community. You also care about the larger community that we live in. And those are all the things that can have can be positively impacted when people vote their common interests, join around common issues, and then exercise their vote in a joint, unified way. And it can impact on how children are treated in school. It can impact on just safety issues that we are all so concerned about. It can be people that are concerned about safety in their communities, but they need to have an opportunity to have a voice of somebody you can talk to about it and share your concerns.
I agree 9,000%. And another example I always give is the one of snow removal. When you think about snow removal, you want to feel that every community is plowed at the same time, but you start seeing little mishaps. We'll call them little mishaps that a community may not have been on the original schematic, and so they didn't know to go and plow that street that was newly formed. I'm being extremely nice right now. So if indeed you are one of those individuals who lives on one of those streets and you vote, then your local politician, oh, she just dropped her computer. So that was funny, should know your name, your face. And so when you call that office, hi there, this is Deborah. I'm calling. My street has not been plowed. It snowed 3 times. And I'm watching Channel 12 News and everyone else is being plowed and we've not been plowed at all. So would you feel comfortable doing that if you were a non-voter? Would you know who to call if you were a non-voter?
There you go.
So the benefits, think about your grandmother who lives down the street and you're so mad that they didn't plow for her. She votes, but you have to make the call for her. So as you were giving examples, the snow removal one is one I think I get a lot of, oh my gosh, I didn't think of that part of it. I didn't think of this. When your tire is flattened regularly because of the potholes that are not ever properly repaired. That's just like putting a Band-Aid on open heart surgery. It's not going to last. So it has to be an overhaul. we're in the process now of seeing so much infrastructure repair happening that has been coming down the pike for the last 12 years. And so it's finally coming to fruition. Don't you want your community to be a part of that which is getting repaired?
That's right.
You don't want to just see other, other areas being repaired. You don't want to see the beautification of other areas and wonder why you don't uh, rate for your community to be as beautified.
Mm-hmm. And don't think that the politicians don't know what areas don't have a very good voter turnout, because they do. So when you're ready, when they're putting in sewer systems and your community is at the very bottom of the list and everybody else has sewers put in and you're coming in now 12 years later, and then it ends up costing you money, don't think they don't know that your community does not have good voter turnout. We need to turn out for every single election. I don't care what it is. There is no such thing again as a small or unimportant election. We need to be there.
The numbers are down. We started our conversation at this point. We started saying that during the primary elections, specifically this one, voter turnout is so low. Go vote. I know most of you will say, well, who am I voting for? This will be the time for you to go online and go to, and you can put this up on the screen, www.elections.ny.gov. If you put that up on the screen for me, that'll be amazing. And what's amazing about that is you can check your voter registration. You can make sure that you are an active voter. There have been people that have come to the polls and they've come in and they said, well, why is my name not there? Back when we had a book. Remember, there was a book. You'd come in, you find your name in the book, you'd sign the book.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be asked, well, when was the last time you voted? And they would say, Clinton. And I said, which one? And if it wasn't a female, then that means some people, now this is why the changing of the rules and us discussing that earlier was so important. It used to be that your name, if you registered to vote, your name was just there.
Mm-hmm.
It was just there. You never knew, it never left. But then after years and years, people's names were purged off the list. Now, purging is something that rhyme or reason, I'm not going to say the word logic is ever right there. But if you don't check your registration, you could be one of those people purged. And the very time you think, oh, I haven't voted in a few years, I'm going to go back and vote now. And then your name is not there.
Mm-hmm.
You only have yourself to be mad at. Yes, your name was removed without you knowing it, but you would have known it had you come to vote in the primaries, in school board elections, in the library elections. All of those elections are so very important. We talk about people who say that I don't know why I'm paying so much in taxes. Well, had you gone to the school board vote, you might have read how much that was going to impact your local taxes.
Mm-hmm.
The library vote also impacts whether you use the library or you have children in school. If you live in that community, you are paying to make sure that those items are maintained. Now, before you get mad at me, you viewing population, somebody paid for your children
Mm-hmm.
when they were in school. So it's the pay it forward rule that I'm looking at that people have to understand. Oh, I have no children. I don't know why my taxes are so high. Well, you may have had 11 children. And when you had 11 children and they were all in school, the people that were years prior to you paid for them. So let's not think about the fairness of paying the taxes this year. Let's think about the umbrella and the larger picture and how paying it forward helps the next generation.
A large part of our property taxes goes to the schools, and we support the library system. And if we want anything in our community to be top notch, it should certainly be the education of the young, because many of us have been here longer than we're going to be here. So we have to turn this over to the hands of the young and hope that they will carry the banner and continue the work that our grandparents, great grandparents, we worked for and bring us to fruition. When you go to your library, like our library, if I go in that library and I see that they have completely neglected to celebrate the month
Mm,
of a history that I believe they need to celebrate because it's my community.
that's true.
And if I didn't vote, I don't really have too much to say because I didn't say yes, yay or nay to support that library. But because I know I voted, I'm raising holy heck. And we have to bring them to be accountable for what we know they should do. They need to respect this community that they work in, and they need to represent the community that they work in because we voted for your salary. And that's a problem. Same thing with our school districts. There is a big debate in this country right now as to whether or not we want to teach history that is comfortable, that makes people happy and feel good, or do we want to teach the truth,
Mm,
the real truth, so that we can have a common understanding, a common knowledge of what has happened in this country and in this world, and know where we are all together and what we need to do to work to not repeat past mistakes. We do that with our vote. We put people in office, not just in office to go to Washington, D.C., but right in our neighborhood. So it's important that we know that and we let our children know that and we let these people know that we are going to vote. Your vote is so valuable. It means so much. We want our children to be educated. We want them to be educated with all of the facts, to know the truth of what has happened. So they are armed with not only a knowledge of what to worry about, what to work against, but what to work for and what to be proud of.
that's true.
So, and it all comes back to one thing, and that is voting. Yeah.
We have had a phenomenal time here today. We still have a few more minutes so that we will always stay under that 1 hour mark.
Good.
I want to make sure that people know that when Dr. Pam Allen said that we're educators, Dr. Pam Allen worked in the school system and worked her way up from, you know how it is when you're a brand new teacher. And so she worked her way up through the educational system to the point where she said, you know what? I know what is important for a feeder program. After having worked in the system where I know people that are here, how can I be a part of the solution? She then went ahead after retirement and started a after school program that I'm here to say is not after school because it's before school, during school, after school, weekends, summers. It is more of a job than she ever has had before.
This is true.
But the smile you see and the glow that you see emanating from her is because she saw what came into the school system. And so her conversations a moment ago were how she then created a feeder program to help make sure that the students in her community were equipped with the tools to be competitive when they went to their schools, and not only in their schools, but to get them into the next levels of their educational journey. So that's one. So that's when I talked about the power couple, and I said Webster's should have that picture that I had up there, sitting right there of them. We have on the other side, to her right, the honorable. I'm sure he's happy because the glow he has now is because of this word, retired Judge Derek Robinson.
Hmm.
And now,
Yes, yes.
go ahead. I want the, we have 3 HBCU grads sitting here right now. We
Yeah.
have Howard University and Florida Agricultural Mechanical University. So give us a little bit about how this power couple started and who No, we won't say who, how this power couple started. And we're going to do this all.
Right, that Howard?
Actually, it started getting out the vote when we were in college. We were both involved in student politics then. And so it was like in our DNA, I guess, and that's how we first met, working, for working in the campaign. And then when we were successful, the new administration of the student president.
Well, Derek was went out. He was a freedom rider. He went to Alabama.
Alabama, the Alabama
Yeah, he went
86.
to Alabama and did voter registration in the rural Alabama, back in this.
Ooh, 1970. And we were in Birmingham, Mobile, and Montgomery.
Yeah, he went down on the bus and did voter registration back in those days when it was dangerous.
That was quite an experience. But
Yeah.
you know what? That just goes to highlight how important voting and the right to vote and exercising the right to vote has always been in our lives.
Mhm.
We met exercising our right to vote, and we're out there right now telling people the importance of getting out to vote.
Yeah.
So it's a part of very much a part of who we are, as individuals, as what we believe is the responsibility for responsible citizenship and as a responsible community member. And so that's how we met, and it's always been working together for a common interest. And for me in law, there were people that would come to you with a particular issue, and so you worked with that particular client to resolve that issue. But it wasn't always the same. And so, whatever comes your way, you just have to find the best way to uh, meld your common interests together for a common beneficial result for everybody. Because, we don't live in this world alone. We need the assistance of our community. You need your neighbor, even though your neighbor lives in a completely different house, but you need your neighbor to watch your back sometimes, just like you're watching your neighbor's back sometimes. It's all part of a tight-knit community working together and looking out for one another and helping one another whenever you can. So one of the things that we feel is so important, when you suggested that we come on and talk about the importance of voting, Deborah, there was no hesitation. Right away, the answer was yes, whatever we can do, because you understand that's why you're at the Board of Elections. You've been doing this as a commitment, as a passion for forever. And now you're doing it, and you're still doing it with a passion. And that's all well and good, because it is so important, and it can't be overstressed. We are celebrating Juneteenth, and that's all about, one succinct word is freedom. It's about freedom.
Yes.
But our freedom has a responsibility, and we have to exercise our right to our freedom by voting and doing it's a sacred right that we have. It's almost like doing something sacred when you go to vote.
That's so true. And, when you were talking about, we just need to have a nice, clean, effective ecosystem that we're constantly pumping in good stuff.
Yeah.
When you spoke about both of you guys working on campus with voting, and you may not know that my parents were, and they were inspectors in Suffolk County prior to me, and all my siblings. And so anybody that walked into one particular voting place, they would see a Peyton here, Peyton there, Peyton there. And then when I went to college, when I went to Florida A&M, I actually ran for a position which was the electoral commissioner. And so I ran, and on campus, I was the student in charge of student elections.
All
And
right.
did the Get Out the Vote campaign. And when we were in school, it was during the time that the national holiday had not been passed in Florida, and we had Governor Graham at that time, and Florida had not voted to allow Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday to be a national holiday. We marched on for so many different things during those times. And in the moment, you were just a college student doing what you felt was the right thing. And so in life, it's great to be able to continue to do what you feel is the right thing. And that was a great plug for our HBCUs, that they're hot right now and they were hot when we were there. And so we're glad that people now understand that the family that we then enjoy with all the people that we went to college with, whether they stayed there or transferred to another university, the love and the bond is what enable us to have a solid foundation. And all of us are registered to vote. All of us exercise our rights to vote, and all of us extol the virtues of voting. It is exactly 9:00, and we have come to 1 full hour with the Robinsons. We ask that they reserve an hour every now and again to make sure that we can then do something like this to make sure that we impart knowledge to our community. I don't see any questions, and I'm not even going to go read to see if there are any, because we are going to stay right within this 1 hour time. Smiley, thank you for saying that we're overtime. He said we're overtime, but it's exactly 9:00. And Dominique, good night, everyone. Thank you so very much. We reserve the right to bring our fabulous guests back. And if you have a topic that you would like for us to discuss, send it to Voter Education 365.
Right.
And we'll discuss that for you.
Thank you for having us, Deborah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.